Well, good evening, one and all. 'Tis the drinker here. I'm not going to mess around with this one. You know why I'm here. I know why I'm here. There's superchats that are outstanding from my last Ask the Drinker stream, so I'm not going to fuck around. I'm just going to get right into them and start answering questions. And especially because this is like a pre-recorded one, I don't have to worry about people getting bored because I'm not answering like the new superchats as they come in. So let's just dive right in. So the last one that we got to was Cody Griffin, who said, "All right, drinker, one movie and one never-ending bottle of liquor on an island forever. What are you bringing?" Good fucking question, man. It's probably going to have to be Big Trouble in Little China. And as far as the drink, yeah, I'll have me a fine bottle of Lagavulin. That would just go down just fine. Frederick Erickson said, "Have you seen Rear Window by Hitchcock? And would you give us 3 movies that you haven't recommended yet that you think everyone should see?" I think I have seen Rear Window. It has been a very long time. I did go through a little spell where I watched quite a few of the Hitchcock movies. I'm pretty sure I've seen Rear Window and pretty much enjoyed it as well. I'd love to watch them now, and properly critically review them. But as for 3 other movies that I haven't recommended yet, damn, there's loads. Where to even begin with stuff like this? At least it's not one of those questions where it's like, your favorite movie ever, go. I've just did Paths of Glory, which means I'm kind of on a Stanley Kubrick journey at the moment, kind of revisiting a lot of these movies that I haven't seen for quite some time. So I would definitely recommend Full Metal Jacket if you haven't seen that. I haven't done a video on it yet, but fantastic movie. The Shining, another one. I've kind of touched upon it with other videos, but I've never done a proper review. But yeah, fantastic horror movie, and just really brilliant at constructing that really eerie atmosphere. So I really appreciate that about Kubrick. And as for the final one, I'm trying to think out of movies that I haven't covered yet. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any good action ones that I haven't done. You know, I haven't covered any of the Mad Max movies, and I was just thinking about them the other day. They are really fucking entertaining. You go on such a franchise journey with them, and the way I can describe that is just like how the budgets get bigger each time. You can see the Hollywood influence starts to take over, especially once you get to Thunderdome. But Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, man, that's some awesome stuff, and the stunt work's amazing. Yeah, give that a watch. That has been a long time since I've talked about any of those movies. So yeah, that would be my other recommendation. Living Biscuit says, "Which is your best movie where you can just turn off the brain factory and not overthink everything or overdrink, whichever comes first?" I mean, I always overdrink, to be fair, but yeah, for just turning off your brain and just enjoying it, my guilty pleasure has always been Armageddon. I just like it. It's dumb as fuck. I don't care. You know, it's just your classic big epic disaster movie. Totally emotionally manipulative. It's a classic Michael Bay, Jerry Bruckheimer movie. Totally over the top, brimming with patriotism, brimming with earnestness. Just good fun. Yeah, I like that one. Calypso Silva gave me £2, so thank you, my friend. Ati said, "Hey, drinker, have you seen Dark on Netflix? What are your thoughts?" I haven't seen it yet, but people have been recommending it to me quite a bit. And yeah, as far as I know, it's like a German horror TV show, meant to be really good. Yeah, I'm totally up for watching it. Mark Freeborn gave me £5, so thanks, man. Henrik Ekberg says, "Yo, drinker, have you seen the Orville?" So I've seen bits and pieces of this. I know people have asked me quite a lot about the Orville over the past year or two. I know it's meant to be really good. People are giving it lots of praise as the spiritual successor to Star Trek. Yeah, it was the early sort of episodes that I was watching where it was still more skewed towards goofy comedy and didn't quite take to it. But I did see some of the later stuff where people recommended scenes or character moments or whatever that I would watch, and I was quite impressed by the writing. So I'm definitely not against watching it. It's just, it's quite a big commitment of time, like starting any TV show is. But yeah, I'm curious to know what people are talking about with it. Discman15 says, "Drinker, you smooth motherfucker. You know, I want to do Breaking Bad. Don't leave me in the desert. You want me to do it? Sorry. Yeah, man. I mean, Breaking Bad's almost one of those no-brainers where it's like, yeah, it's fantastic. And Walter White is just a brilliantly constructed character. I don't. There's not really much I can say against it in that sense. So it almost feels like my opinion's redundant on this one. But man, if people really wanted me to review it, sure, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to spurg on about it for a while because it's great. Zach James says, just wanted to wish you a happy publication day on Dark Harvest. Thank you very much, sir. It was great to get that book out there finally. Congrats on another release from a fellow thriller author. Cheers very much. And yeah, it's been a long journey with Dark Harvest, but I'm glad that it's out there and people seem to be enjoying it. So it's all good, man. Kobaka says, I know a guy named Ryan Drake. Given his profession and fitness level, he'd be a great Ryan Drake as Ryan Drake in the Ryan Drake movie universe. Yeah, just like Nick Cage. Who should write and direct the next Star Wars movie? There will be one. I mean, I'm sure there will be eventually. Who at this point would I like to see direct? Fuck, man. Maybe Dan Trachtenberg. Give him a little chance. Like, he proved that he can do action scenes with Prey, which is fair enough, man. Yeah, I mean, I think he did a reasonable enough job with that movie. Be interesting to see what he could do with a big budget Star Wars production. So yeah, give him a shot. Chota17 says, your thoughts on the Resident Evil 4 remake? I'm curious. I mean, these remakes have had a spotty history, really. Like RE2, they did a great job with that. RE3, yeah, they didn't really improve on it. Like, it felt kind of rushed and it felt kind of spotty. Although, you know, the more I've played it, the more I've come to like it somehow. It's a weird kind of situation. Like, as a very short, self-contained piece of storytelling, it's all right. But yeah, they definitely could have done a better job with 3. As with 4, all eyes are going to be on it, man, because that has got a dedicated fan base. People love Resident Evil 4. But yeah, it'd be interested to see it get done up with you know, current generation graphics. So yeah, I'll be down with playing it. Elijah Eldrith says, current thoughts on The Last of Us 2 and Part 1. Okay, so Part 1, fantastic. Great storytelling, great characters. For its time, fantastic graphics. Yeah, thought Last of Us Part 1 was great. As for Part 2, yeah, I mean, I've already done a pretty extensive review on it. It definitely tries to do lots of ambitious things storytelling-wise. It just doesn't have the skill to pull it off. I think there's a real element of hubris creeping in there for Neil Druckmann. I thought the open world aspects of it weren't very well utilized. Like, really, I never felt compelled to explore that open world because there was never anything interesting to find in it. It was just empty. And so, yeah, I didn't like that aspect of it. They absolutely botched the death of Joel, the introduction of Abby. Yeah, they did it all ass backwards. And I put forward so many other ways that could have been handled and it would have worked out so much better. But yeah, it's like they picked the worst option. So didn't like to. Catherine Rux says, hey, Drinker, I'm just jumping on to let you know that your book, Dark Harvest, arrived yesterday, and I'm excited to read it. I have to go now. Peace. Thanks, man. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Jack Lehrer gave me $5, so thanks, mates. Alan Paxton says, what franchise would you love to work on, be it novel, screenplay, and what would you do to make it your own? Thoughts on Spielberg's War of the Worlds? So as for franchises, I'd love to try and save Star Trek if I could. I'm not sure what I'd do at this stage, but probably undo everything that's happened since the Kelvin timeline because it's all garbage, and just bring it back to like that TNG era or something like that. War of the Worlds, I thought it was fine. Yeah, it's it felt more like a Tom Cruise movie than a Steven Spielberg movie. But yeah, as for like you know, kind of another take on the whole War of the Worlds original novel, because, man, this thing's been adapted so many times, and it's really interesting to see how it's been done in different eras, from like the radio plays to the sort of movies in the 1950s that were all about like the Cold War tensions and stuff to like these present day ones. It really reflects like the angst and the zeitgeists of their time, I suppose. But Yeah, that was good for spectacle and stuff. It was great. Glenn Johns says, although the one thing I hated was the idea that the fucking tripod things were under the ground the whole time and we've just never found any. And like the Martians just like teleported into them. That was dumb. Glenn Johns said, what do you think about The Boys season 3? Haven't seen it yet. Is it better or worse than the previous 2 seasons? Will we ever get a review video? Don't know. That is the best answer I can give you. I will probably watch it because I know a lot of people want me to, and I'm just trying to work up the energy to do it. It's just not appealed to me, man. I feel like I got burned with season 2. Mark Freeborn says, what's your best worst film? So my favorite shitty movie is one that probably no one's ever heard of, and it's called Fatal Deviation. It's an Irish martial arts film that was done on a budget of like $10,000, like nothing, from like the late 90s. The guy who's in it desperately wanted to be the next Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it's just hilarious. It's so goofy, like nobody in it can act. It's just like the martial arts version of The Room, but it's hilarious to watch. I think you can pretty much find it for free on YouTube as well. Todd Vandersis says 14 Lives Rescue Soccer Players, a good movie on Prime. Nice, okay. Wing083 says, have you seen 13 Lives? It's a movie with Viggo Mortensen directed by Ron Howard about those kids, the Thai soccer team that got trapped in a cave. Yeah, I was just asking about that. So I haven't seen it, I'm afraid, no. But yeah, the premise sounds good. John Smith says, extra shots for Cliffhanger and True Lies? Absolutely. I enjoyed both movies. And True Lies would be an interesting one to talk about, actually, because it's like the James Cameron movie that time forgot. It's weird. It's like so many of his other films like get so much attention even now, but people kind of just overlook True Lies. Like I don't think it made, I don't think it generates that much conversation, unlike most of his other stuff. And as far as I know, it had a relatively trouble-free production, which is very unlike James Cameron. So yeah, I'd be interested to cover that. Macross40 says, what do you think would be the best fix for Black Panther 2 to work best with audiences like the first one without Chadwick Boseman? I'm interested in your opinion as an AA. Yeah, this is a tough one, man, because honestly, they really had 2 options, or 3, ultimately. They could either try and recast T'Challa, which would have been a really difficult thing to pull off because he's like your main character. I know they've done recastings in the past, kind of in the early days, like they swapped out Bruce Banner, they swapped out Rhodey. But yeah, to try and do it with a main character like this, like so late in the game, would be a tough one. The other option would be to just not do another movie and just like kind of retire the character and kind of move on from that. They're not going to do that, I suppose, because there's too much money at stake. Like Black Panther made crazy money, arguably a bit more than it deserved, but it was a cultural moment and all that. Or the other option, which is what they're doing, is just get another character to fill in for him and replace him as the new Black Panther. I wouldn't have picked Shuri, being honest. I don't think the actress has got the chops or the charisma to carry a movie by herself. I don't think she's a particularly likable character. Like, I always find her really arrogant and insufferable. And yeah, man, it's just like replacing another male superhero with a female one. Like, I don't think they're going to stop until literally every hero in the entire MCU is female. That seems to be the direction they're heading. If so, good luck, man. But yeah, I would have tried to. Fuck. What could you even replace him with at this point? I don't know if you could have one of the other tribesmen that he fought initially, like coming around to try and succeed him or something, recognizing that he was a worthy opponent and trying to take his place, perhaps. They weren't. None of them were huge characters in the first movie, so I don't know if there's enough build up there. Yeah, there's not really much else to work with. It is a tough situation. Chris Radicki says, Drinker, you relentlessly reliable reviewer and relatable reprobate. Been a fan since yours for some time now. Keep doing the Lord's work. I will. Thank you. P.S. I'd highly recommend Bullet Train, The Hateful Eight in Japan. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to watch Bullet Train for sure because I've heard pretty good things about it. Big Dave K says, I want some more B-movie drinker recommends. Ever seen the movie Krull? Yes, I have. I quite liked it, actually, for all its goofy special effects and stuff. It's good fun. It's a good 80s fantasy movie. Where's the doggo today? So just like now, she's in the living room with Critical Doggo number 2, which you might have seen on another stream, where there's like 2 of them wandering about the room. So I now have 2 Critical Doggos. One's called Lara, one called Smokey, which was his racing name. But yeah, he's great fun. And I take back everything I said about greyhounds when I said they were lazy as fuck. This one's like constantly wanting attention and constantly want to run around and play. I'm not entirely convinced he actually is a greyhound. He's that weird. But yeah, a good balance for Lara, I think. So I'll try and get them both on stream the next time I do one. Darth Didlins says, my Dark Harvest pre-order still says January 2023. Fuck! Yeah, I think that's probably because you're in the UK. When it's done in regionally, they come out at slightly different times. It's just staggered. Unfortunately, that's what happens. So I'm pretty sure the UK release of the physical copies, like the hardback, is January. So I am sorry about that. Irvin Turner says, Drinker, have you seen The Warriors? Yeah, The Warriors. Yeah, quite some time ago, but I do remember it being pretty good. Yeah, a lot of creepy shit in it, like like that kind of what would you even call it? It's like being under siege or something by them. But yeah, I thought it was quite good, quite atmospheric. Waylon Bocephus says, thinking about writing a Western, any advice? I mean, I've never written one myself, man, so I don't really know, but I feel like we're at the point now with Westerns where they're so, like, it's been so long since really they've been a thing. You could practically retell any story from back in the day. It's not like people are going to say, oh, well, that's cliched as a Western now. Like, you can do pretty much anything because we just haven't had any Westerns for a long time. But yeah, I mean, my top picks are always going to be ones like Unforgiven, which obviously is kind of that revisionist period of Westerns. But I love the spaghetti, the spaghetti Westerns, like the Dollars trilogy and stuff as well, where there's a bit of flair and there's a little bit of humor worked into it. They're slightly anarchic. Yeah, I always find them really fun as well. But yeah, just have fun with it, man. Like with that genre, the untamed wilderness, the wide open spaces, the gunslingers and stuff. Like, it's a classic formula for adventure and fun and excitement and stuff. Or you can make it harrowing and brutal. It just depends what your persuasion is. Cal says, just rewatched all 3 of the Blade movies. Best part of them is Wesley Snipes. Agreed. He's fantastic as Blade. How do you feel about them? Yeah, I mean, I was going to say I like them all. That would be a stretch. I really like the first 2. The third one's a bit of a mess. Partly it's because the script was kind of shitty. Some of the casting's weird. Like the guy that got playing Dracula was shit. Wesley Snipes apparently was really difficult and didn't cooperate with the director. And yeah, as a result, Ryan Reynolds kind of had to take over for him a lot of the time. And well, Ryan Reynolds is being Ryan Reynolds, which is really the only role that he can play. Yeah, apparently the Hannibal King character from the comics is like way darker and way more serious. So people were rightly pissed off that Ryan Reynolds just made him into a fucking joke. But overall, really like them. Yeah, I love that dark, violent, R-rated tone that you got with them. And God, I just can't wait to see Marvel fuck it up now. Waylon Bocephus says, favorite Westerns? Yeah, so I just talked about that. So love the Dollars trilogy, loved Unforgiven, love High Plains Drifter and Pale Rider. All those ones great. Got a real soft spot for the Shootist as well. Like, I know John Wayne kind of belonged to that early generation of Westerns where it was all very like straight-laced and gung-ho and didn't always reflect the reality of life on the frontier. But man, that was a good one. That was much more, somber and reflective, because it was really, for him, it was an old man facing up to the end of his career, and in his case, his life. But yeah, good one too. Stu Dent says, being John Malkovich, thoughts. That movie is baffling, but in a good way. Yeah, just a crazy concept. They just had a lot of fun with it. Just let their imaginations go wild. I think the moment where John Malkovich himself goes through the portal thing and just gets teleported into his own body, and then he just sees everyone as himself. It's bizarre shit. Yeah, it's an interesting, fun movie. Obviously, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense. Don't really need it to. It's just some crazy stuff. Sumatra says, why don't you stop saying when CGI is good or bad when you have no clue about it? What do you know about CGI? Any background supporting your opinion? No, I've got a pair of eyes, though. And it's kind of that analogy of I don't have to be a plumber to know when my toilet's clogged with shit. Yeah, with CGI, what can I say, man? You can tell when it looks good and you can tell when it looks bad. And there could be any number of reasons technically behind the scenes. There might have been pressure. There might have been studio interference. They might not have had enough time to render it. They might not have had the technology that they needed. But if it looks like shit, it looks like shit. I mean, what can I say? So that's the standard of measure I go with. EE says, the drinker, I must know, have you watched the Sandman yet? I've been checking on your channel every day to see if you uploaded a video on it yet. Much love. I haven't watched it yet, I'm afraid. Heard a lot about it. I just haven't got around to it, but I probably will. Noise says, name some of your favorite terrible movies. My favorite is Tremors. That is not a terrible movie. That is a good movie. Don't ever say Tremors is terrible. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier. So, like I said before, I really like Fatal Deviation. It's an Irish kung fu movie, fucking hilariously bad, but in all the right ways. You can tell the people behind it were really having fun, and they were trying their best to make a good movie. As for other ones, yeah, The Room is always rewatchable. It's again one of those so bad it's good things, and it's a classic one. Beyond that, damn, most movies just fall into the category of just being terrible, not like so bad they're good. Yeah, off the top of my head, what else would there be? I remember watching Malignant with Mahler and the rest of the guys, and we just laughed our asses off with that one. It's trying to be a horror movie, but it's so goofy and ridiculous that it's better as a comedy. Clarence Eugene says, when will you watch Kimmy? Steven Soderbergh writes Millennials. It's hilariously bad on Malignant level. Hey, there we go. Also filmed in Seattle. Why didn't you see Pig? Check out Gold with Zac Efron. Did you see Devs? Synchronic Lapses 2067. That's a lot of movies, man. Why didn't I see Pig? I just haven't got around to it yet. A couple of my friends who've seen it said it's kind of weird and they didn't enjoy it that much. But man, it's Nick Cage. You've got to watch Nick Cage. The Three Sounds gave me £2, so thank you. SP O'Neill gave me $5, so cheers, man. Master of Puppets says, Hail Drinker, have you seen Super 8? Yes, I have. A surprisingly good sci-fi from 2011 by Jar Jar. Keep up the good work. Loving your books. Thank you, man. And yeah, Super 8, it was all right. Yeah, it doesn't fall into the usual traps that Jar Jar does. His shitty mystery boxes and stuff, and not knowing how to end the story. I thought it was decent enough. Yeah, it's almost like it was J.J. Abrams before he became fully J.J. Abrams by Hollywood. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of creativity in there somewhere. Who knows? Imagination Studios says, have you played Alien Isolation? How about a movie? I've watched people play it. I've never really got around to playing it myself. Apparently, from what I saw, it looks great. Like, just nice tension building. It's not like action-packed or anything. It's just, it's you trapped aboard a ship with this fucking terrifying monster that's coming after you. I think it's a great, it's a great concept. It's not exactly a new one, but the the game seems to pull it off really well. And as for a movie, sure. I mean, Ripley's pretty much played out as a character, so how about doing something like this? I think it's her daughter or something that's in it. John Papa Sergio says, I think you should check out Mr. Mercedes. It's a 3-season show based on a Stephen King novel trilogy. Really good. All right, thanks for the recommendation, man. Edicus says, how long do you think the MCU has left? I'd say 5 years. I may be being generous there, but I'd say it's got another 5 years before it just kind of ends, and they probably just reboot the whole fucking thing and start again, knowing them. Just got to milk more money out of it. I think Phase 4 has been a directionless disaster, and it's shown how weak the movies are becoming. All the TV shows, doesn't matter how much fake praise you heap on them, nobody fucking likes them. And yeah, I don't think Phase 5 has got much more to keep us or to get us excited. Spooky T2I says, we've seen so many trite, forgettable remakes, but what films deserve a remake and why? For me, I'd say Event Horizon to see the full story, or The Howling to apologize for that cute ending. With Event Horizon, I just wouldn't trust Hollywood to make a film like that now. I think they would try and soften it. It would be nowhere near as gory or like over the top as the original cut was. And man, I just think it would lose so much of that charm. And with that original film, you had so many great actors, which obviously you can't reuse now. And I just don't think there's an equivalent to them anymore. You know, having Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne and Jason, is it Jason Isaacs? Yeah, I think it is Jason Isaacs. I keep getting them mixed up, but yeah, all three of them fantastic. Kathleen Quinlan as well is really good. Yeah, I just struggle to imagine how they would redo that. Gavin James says, hey, Drinker, have you seen The Terminal List and what did you think? Cheers, mate. I have seen it and I liked it and I gave a review of it. So go watch that. You'll enjoy it. Zane Davis says, have you played the game Spec Ops The Line? Yes, I've played it and completed it. It starts off as a generic shooter, but becomes a psychological nightmare that I love. Yeah, that game does a lot of pretty interesting, smart things, which you would never expect from a first-person shooter like this. Yeah, really good game, really good exploration of grief and guilt and trauma in war. Brilliant stuff. Yeah, you can make a video about it. Rad Mod says, Drinker, I strongly recommend Better Call Saul, one of the best shows ever made, in my opinion. Yeah, people are loving Better Call Saul, man. Soto says, will you ever talk about a Quentin Tarantino film? Yes, I will. My personal favorite is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Cliff Booth is my hero, and I plan to make a video about him. I don't blame you, man. It's awesome. With Quentin Tarantino, yeah, it's people have asked me about this before, and it's a weird one because I've enjoyed a lot of his movies. Never felt a strong urge to make videos about them, and I don't know why. Probably because you're talking about things like Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction or whatever. They have been talked about to death, and I just don't think there's much I can add to them at this point. With other later stuff, there's maybe more that I could talk about in that I feel like he starts to indulge himself a bit too much. But then, man, people don't like it when you criticize Tarantino. So I don't know. Might end up with a fucking target on my back. Henrik Ekberg says, speaking of Miguel Ferrer, have you seen Stephen King's The Stand from 1994? Yeah, that was a TV miniseries, I recall. I remember it being really weird because I watched it as a kid. I was only like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old when it was on. And having no idea about the source material, hadn't read the book or anything. I just went into this expecting some kind of like action adventure thing. And holy shit, was it not what I expected? When Randolph Flagg turns into a demon thing, I was like, what the fuck is this? Jesus. But I remember it being quite good. I mean, it's been a long time since I've watched it, and maybe if I watched it now, it'd be cringe as fuck. But yeah, I quite liked it back in the day. Chernobog says, if you haven't seen Danger 5, you need to. International Dream has to kill Hitler, and in the 1950s. It includes Mecha Hitler, Zombie Hitler, and more. That sounds amazing. Mecha G Official says, how do you become a movie critic? Is there an angle to it, or is it just a skill? Fucked if I know, mate. I mean, you know, you try it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, I wish I could tell you what makes certain channels take off and others, kind of stagnate. Bit of luck involved, I'm sure, but yeah, it helps if you've got something interesting to say, a bit of insight to provide, and an interesting way in which to provide it. That's really what you're going for. It's not always easy, but yeah, I guess I've lucked out so far. Paul Barker says, any chance ROP doesn't suck? Rings of Power. I know the press is bad, but the show looks good despite some lore changes. Love Tolkien and would love for it to not suck. I would, if honestly, the prospect of like a really good Lord of the Rings TV show would be great. It's just, there's so much animosity towards this thing now, and every time the actual people that made it talk about it, like everything they say about it just makes me think it's going to be terrible. It's pretty clear from how they speak about it, like where their priorities lie in terms of writing and storytelling. It's all they seem to care about is like we've got the first, diverse dwarf, or we've got the first demographic X or demographic Y or demographic Z in this movie. And aren't we so special and clever because, we're updating Tolkien for the modern world? And it's like, nobody cares about that, and that's not me just having a rant here. This is me just taking a step back as a writer and saying, like, what would just fans look for in something like this? They want a respectful adaptation of Tolkien's world, just like Peter Jackson did. They just want it to fit with the canon of what we know so far, to respect the lore and the source material, and to try and tell a story to the best of its ability. And the rest of that stuff, that is not important to something like this. But it's all they seem to want to talk about, and it kind of makes everyone think, well, that's all they've really focused on with writing this stuff. But who knows, man? I mean, we're only like a week or two away from it coming out, so maybe it'll blow us all away. Who knows? Yo-Yo says, saw a meme on Twitter, in a world where competent people wrote films and it had Henry Cavill in front of London as Sherlock Holmes. He's been Sherlock Holmes in Enola Holmes, and that movie was just a fluffy bit of nothing. I wouldn't have picked Cavill as Sherlock Holmes because he's too big and he's too buff and too good looking. I think Sherlock Holmes is meant to be kind of scrawny. So nah. Danny Boy says, if you had to bare knuckle box any celebrity, who would it be and why? It would probably be Sylvester Stallone, just so I would have the honor of getting punched by Rocky himself. I wouldn't even care about winning the fight. I would just be happy to get punched by him. Be interesting to see if he can still hit pretty hard for an old guy as well. P. McNamara says, what will it take for entertainment to be separated from Californian politics? Will it ever be truly gone? It'll never be truly gone because it can't be. You'll never entirely get rid of it. What will it take? Enough bankruptcies, probably, for them to change their minds. I know Zaslav, who's been brought in for the head of Warner Brothers Discovery, seems to be, he seems to be knocking heads and cracking skulls at the moment. And a lot of people are getting fired and a lot of shitty projects are getting shut down under his watch. So I don't know, man. I said before with my Batgirl video, this could be the beginning of a real swing where they just say, enough of this garbage. We are losing tens of millions of dollars. We've been doing it for years now. It's not working. We have to stop this. But it's going to take wholesale firing of a lot of people to try and clear this out, because this shit goes down to the core of basically every studio now. I mean, this is Warner Brothers Discovery we're talking about here, but if you were to try and do this to Disney, fuck, man, the amount of people you would have to lay off would be insane. And I think Disney are just so invested in it now. I just think they can't get away from it. MTH says, any chance of doing a happy hour on Jaws or Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Mauler? Side question, are you a fan of Dragon Ball Z? I'm not really into Dragon Ball Z, but with Jaws, I've already done a review of it on my second channel. Oh, wait. No, my main channel. I did a Drinker Recommends. And so, yeah, I don't know if there'd be much to be gained by doing a live stream on it. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I'd happily take a look at that, actually. Yeah, it's a nice Spielberg movie from back in the day. Feels very dated now, but I do remember the special effects at the end being incredible. So yeah, it'd be interesting to talk about either with Mauler or someone else, you know. Eal says, what are your thoughts on The Boys Season 3? Not watched it yet, as I said before. Spencer Stabio says, I recently saw Bullet Train, 2 hours of pure entertainment. I recommend it. Cheers. Well, you got me signed up then. I'm up for watching it for sure. E2 Clutch says, what's your go-to beer or liquor drink? Cheers. My go-to beer is Innocent Gun, but failing that, a bit of Moretti is always good. That's what I'm drinking right now. I like me a bit of gin when I'm drinking liquor, and yeah, a bourbon or a malt whiskey. All of them are perfectly fine by me. Sven Hoek says, drinker, you virtuoso of virility and vindication. While you don't strike me as someone terribly interested in weeb stuff, I think you'd enjoy the 1993 masterpiece film Ninja Scroll, as it's basically the anime equivalent of Commando. Well, there you go. Fucking sign me up. I love me a bit of Commando, so if we've got if we've got an anime equivalent of that, that sounds perfect. Yeah, cheers, man. Thank you for the recommendation, and thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. God himself says, have you heard of RRR? You should watch it. I have heard of it, and I am going to watch it. The clips I've seen look amazing. Christopher JM21 says, what's your thoughts on Orville Season 3? I enjoyed it. It felt very Star Trek. This is what I'm hearing about the Orville. It's gotten more Star Trek-y over time as well, and perhaps less comedic. The Dog Productions says, The Boys Season 3, would love your review. Well, apparently a lot of people do, or would want to see my review, so yeah, just need to get around to doing it. What's this? Juan Sendajar says, your thoughts on Bullet Train and Resident Evil 4 Remake? Yeah, so I talked about the Resident Evil 4 Remake earlier. As for Bullet Train, yeah, I'm hearing good things about it. It's meant to be just good entertainment, so yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it, man. John Reedy says, hello from your cousins in Ireland. Thoughts on the film The Mist and that ending, if you have seen it? Yes, I have seen the ending, and damn, that's a bleak one. If only he'd waited just a couple of minutes longer, everything would have been fine. But yeah, I like the fact that it had a really, bleak ending. It wasn't a happily ever after kind of movie. Yeah, the stuff leading up to it, it was a little bit generic at times. I think some of the effects weren't amazing, but yeah, overall it was an okay movie. Might get around to reviewing it at some point, actually. Danny Marsh says, hey Drinker, love the content and hope you're well. Can we expect a video on your thoughts on how Doctor Who is developing with Russell T Davies returning and the casting decisions that have been made? I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of said that I wasn't going to do any more Doctor Who reviews because The Timeless Children just killed me on Doctor Who. I just thought, fuck it, I'm done. Not interested in this show anymore. Don't want to talk about it, and I just don't want to put myself through watching it. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to do any more videos on that because I'd be going back on my word. And if a man doesn't stick to his word, then what the fuck kind of man is he? Mr. Allen says, did you hear about Elliot Page being cast as the new James Bond? The film would be titled The Spy Who Misgendered Me. Don't give them ideas, man. I tell you. William Teller says, love the new She-Hulk video. It looks like proper shite. It really does. From everything I've seen from episode 1 as well. Oh, damn. I'm going to wait until I've seen the whole series before I do a review of it. But, wow, it's going to have to go some to win me back, because it is just garbage at the moment. The Iron Mega says, hey Drinker, have you seen the Hell's Reach series on YouTube? I think you might like it. Based on a really good novel. Fan project from a few years back. 40k related. Well, now you got my interest, man. I haven't seen it, but I'd be up for watching it. King of U212 says, Critical Drinker, Eragon was one of the best first franchises I read through. Now Disney is developing a series. Please tell me you share my anguish. I mean, I don't have any sort of attachment really to it, but yeah, I share your kind of trepidation just from the idea of them remaking something like this or making any adaptation of it now. They've become the kind of company that I honestly wouldn't trust them to make me a fucking coffee, never mind a movie. Duckfinder says, how do you record your videos? Do you have to practice your script quite a bit, or can you read it pretty naturally on the first try or so? Yeah, so I just do it first time, but what you will not see is like the outtakes or the fluffed lines or bits where I stumble over a word or something. Like, it happens to everyone when you're reading off a long enough script. You're eventually going to fuck up some line somewhere, and it's fine. You're recording it. You fuck up one bit, you just pause for a few seconds, read that bit again, and away you go. And yeah, usually it's fine when I play it back. There'll occasionally be bits where the audio pops or something like that, or maybe I'm a bit too loud in some sections or whatever, and I can just re-record it. But that's why you do it, man. That's the great thing about doing videos for YouTube like this is, you can do it as many times as you want until you get it just how you want it. Kevbot4250 says, Hail Drinker, thoughts on the OG Planet of the Apes films? I find them entertaining with loads of social commentary without the message. The first one was fantastic. Obviously, it's rightly regarded as a classic. After that, they kind of went downhill rapidly. Like, I was baffled with this idea of like the apes traveling back through time to like present day America, and then the uprising. I think the war for the Planet of the Apes was pretty good. It's either war or a conquest of the Planet of the Apes. The ones where the apes have like a kind of uprising. Although it's always frustrating because the humans are like comically inept at taking them on. You've got riot police with machine guns and they still somehow get overpowered by fucking apes armed with stones. Yeah, I think this is one of the few examples where a modern remake actually did a really good job fixing that story and telling it well. The Planet of the Apes trilogy, where they had like Andy Serkis doing the mocap and everything for it as Caesar, like that was brilliant stuff, man. So they did a good job with that. Cinco Boy says, why are normies so easy to impress? So many people I know consume content and give it all a thumbs up. It's maddening. I fucking know. Yeah, I don't get this. I don't know if they're being slowly conditioned to just accept absolute garbage, and so they don't even question it at this point. But it's like, yeah, this is why people like myself and Maul, Gary, whoever else, we're trying to point out, hey, movies used to be really good and smart, and they were well written by people who actually cared about them. Please don't accept this shit that you're being given now as being the norm. It's not. It's really below par. And the only way to turn it around is to stop fucking watching it. So, yeah, they'll eventually try harder. He also asks me, have you seen Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter? Yeah, I have. It's no masterpiece, but it's fun. I mean, it's dumb, and it's straight out of a comic book. Obviously, it's what it's meant to be. The action scenes are completely over the top. The idea of Abraham Lincoln being this like axe wielding fucking vampire killer, yeah, why not? Just go for it with a bit of it's over the top insanity. But you can tell that there was actually a bit of creative spark behind it. So I mean, I'll give it that. Yeah, definitely not an Oscar winner or anything, but it is a movie you can at least have fun with. 28 Maitreya Gupta gave me 40 Indian rupees, I think it is. Thanks, man. Madpan Overviewed said, thank you for everything, boss. Cheers, buddy. Appreciate it. Brownest of all the bears says, cheers, drinker. Have you given The Void a whirl? Worth doing, man. Ace Lovecraftian horror. Nice. I like that idea. Cult of Personality says, for Berserk, definitely wait for the updated Golden Age trilogy movies. They're adding additional scenes from the source material. The 2016 anime is bad. Yes, I know. I need to know which ones to avoid. Lumpy Grendel says, saw The Northman with my older kids based on your recommendation. Really liked it. Good. I'm glad to have someone's opinion that I can listen to. Have you seen a movie called The Commitments? One of my favorites. Keep up the good work. I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen The Commitments, though. I don't know why. It is definitely familiar, though. But I'm glad you enjoyed The Northman, mate. Cheers. 28 Maitreya Gupta says, your thoughts on The Sandman, please. I will give you them when I've seen it. JH Marvelous says, what do you think Quentin Tarantino's writing? So I guess, what do I think of it? Yeah, as I've kind of said before, his ability to write dialogue is fantastic, and his ability to also pair that up with just the right actor to deliver it is almost unsurpassed. Like, you almost never look at a Quentin Tarantino movie and think, damn, why did he cast that guy? Shit. It's always perfect casting. I think, like I said before, he's maybe picked up a few bad habits over the years to the point where, you know, sometimes his movies can become a bit self-indulgent, like his later ones. You know, they have scenes that are so long and so drawn out, they almost pass that point of being too much, you know. And I think maybe that's what he can fall victim to now. But man, he's like one of the last really talented writer directors in Hollywood, it feels like. So I don't want him to stop. Rhyming Orange says, do you think Disney's X-Men can be a work of social commentary like in the comics without being overly woke? I think it would work best as a series. I mean, it's not even a question of being woke. It's just how effectively can they work their commentary into the script and the story without just bludgeoning you over the head with it, because that's all they do now. And I don't think they've got the ability to do that subtly. So, yeah, I don't have much confidence in it at all, to be honest with you. Paul Colton says, if you want to see a killer Shane Black flick, see Kiss Kiss Bang Bang starring Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer. Fantastic. Yeah, good recommendation, man. Rude Canadian says, hello, drinker, you drunk yet seemingly intelligent man. It's only an act. Trust me. I just rewatched The Incredibles, and it makes me sad to see how far Disney has fallen in terms of making superhero movies. What are your thoughts on The Incredibles? So I liked the first one. It was good fun. The second one, yeah, it falls really far into the whole, you know, the mum has to go out to work and save the world. The dad's just kind of stuck at home with the kids because, you know, isn't that interesting? Modern family and all that. But yeah, the first one I thought was really good. The second one, it just kind of hits you over the head too hard with that message. But yeah, entertaining stuff. Akanti458 says, not sure if this has already been asked, but but are you excited for Sandman season 2 if you've watched it on Netflix? I haven't seen season 1 yet, mate. I couldn't tell you. Dr. Acula, I see what you did there. I know animation isn't what you usually do, but at some point love a review of Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and compare it to, say, pick a Disney reboot. So, I remember there's a... Yeah, if this is the one I'm thinking of... Empire... It's got Helga Sinclair in it, who was hot as fuck. Let me see if I can have a look. Let's see. Michael J. Fox, James Garner. Yeah, I think this is the one I'm thinking of. Oh yeah, it is the one. Yeah, I used to I quite liked Atlantis actually. Yeah, I loved the animation of it. They had a great voice cast, like brilliant sort of lineup of people, and yeah, I just thought it was a fun movie. I can't really say much more beyond that. I would probably have to rewatch it now to give you a proper like plot breakdown and everything. But yeah, I remember it. I remember it just tapping into that classic, you know, desire for like adventure stories. It's set during like I think the turn of the century. So it's kind of primitive steampunky technology, and I just love all that stuff. Horace Heresy 1982 says, did you ever see The Babysitter by McGee on Netflix? A hidden gem. I didn't see that, I'm afraid, no. James Spinner says, if someone made a new Remo Williams The Destroyer movie, would you watch it? So, wait, was Remo Williams Fred Ward? Hold on. I want to check to make sure I'm right. Oh, yeah. So it was originally the comics. Then they did Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins, and that had Fred Ward in it. God rest his soul. But yeah, I never really read the comics or anything, so I don't know what I'd be comparing it to. But yeah, I don't know, man. How are you going to top Fred? I just, with stuff like this, I probably wouldn't trust them to remake it now. Daddy Magic says, thanks for giving away the ending of your books. Guess I don't need to buy the rest of them. Love you, mate. Keep up the good work. Yeah, sorry about that, man. I got too excited talking about them, What can I say? I'd had a few drinks as well. But hey, that's just one tiny facet of the ending of the Ryan Drake series. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes on there. So hopefully there's enough to keep you engaged anyway. Andrew Schuster says, have you seen All Quiet on the Western Front, 1979 with Richard Thomas? If not, it's a fine World War I movie I recommend checking out. Also the 1931. Yeah, so I've seen the old one because I think I watched it at school, like high school history class or something like that, which was fantastic. For a movie made almost 100 years ago, it's fucking impressive. I haven't seen the 1970s version, though, I'm afraid. The Bits and Pieces man said, do you like the cinematography of Titanic? Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, James Cameron can shoot a fucking action scene like nobody's business, and like that sequence where they spot the iceberg and they're trying to, put the engines into reverse and like they're turning the wheel because they're like, there's a million different things all happening at the same time. The music's perfectly choreographed with it and it's great. Like he knows exactly what people look for in a movie like that. Yeah, overall, pretty fucking solid stuff cinematography wise. I always felt like the ship, the decks and the interiors and everything, it always looked a bit too clean. It's a hard one to describe because I know the ship was meant to be brand new in this anyway, but I don't know. It looked a bit stagey at some times. Like you could very much tell it was done on a soundstage. Fine, like it's not the end of the world or anything. But yeah, overall, brilliant stuff. And like I say, when you get, when the ship starts sinking, you get the flooding scenes. Yeah, all that stuff is great. They managed to make it like poignant and action packed and stuff. I really want to do a review of Titanic at some point because it's definitely a movie of like two halves almost. If you fast forward through all the love triangle stuff, which is kind of trite and a bit, over melodramatic, as a disaster movie, it's fucking incredible movie. Mr. Pinkman says, have you ever played Alien Isolation? Great horror game. Yes, people were asking me about that earlier. So haven't played it. I've watched like other people play it and it looks great. Off the Cover says, your writing is awesome and actually inspired me to start my own channel reviewing movies and shows. Good on you, mate. Hope it works well. My latest review was the 1991 classic, If Looks Could Kill. Have you seen it? It's awesome. I haven't seen that, I'm afraid, but I should watch your review. John Smith says, ever seen Arachnophobia? Surprisingly great. Arachnophobia is brilliant fun. It manages to be an okay horror that plays on people's fear of creepy crawlies because, not many people love spiders. I love John Goodman in it. He's brilliant. Jeff Daniels as well. Like, he plays that pretty straight for the kind of movie that it is. I love the idea that he's got to battle the spider in the end. It also dies a fantastic death, like that nail gun. Oh, brilliant. It's a fun movie. John Wayne says, don't know if this has been asked, but have you watched the finale of Better Call Saul? I haven't, I'm afraid. And if so, what do you think of the final season? Like I said before, I haven't really watched Better Call Saul. I've watched Breaking Bad. Fantastic. Just never got into this one. Wolf in Sheep's Clothing says, hey, Drinker, I love your videos and just wanted to ask, have you seen the show The Old Man starring Jeff Bridges? The Old Man? I haven't, I'm afraid, no. John Papa Sergio says, as mediocre as Pacific Rim was, I feel like the CGI was decent. One of the only films where the big robots feel like they have weight to them. I mean, yes and no. The fact that they were able to carry them with like a pair of helicopters was a bit ridiculous because they must weigh like thousands of tons. There's no way a chopper could lift something like that. But hey, man, if you just want to see giant robots punching giant monsters, like it's the film for you, I guess. McDaily says, sorry, gave me a super sticker, so thanks, man. Claudio Rogojan says, Have you ever seen the 2003 Peter Pan film? I think it's underrated. Excuse me. Definitely better than Hook. I don't really like Hook. So cheesy and cringe. I mean, it is cheesy. I think it was designed to be that way. Yeah, and it's got Robin Williams in it, who was just great back in the day. The 2003 one, didn't watch it, I'm afraid. Mario Trulio says Trainspotting review. Yeah, people have been on at me to do Trainspotting for a while. Because I'm Scottish, I guess I've got to review Scottish films or something. I'd probably pick Braveheart over that because that's another one people keep asking me about. Probably that's one I'd rather rewatch than Trainspotting because I feel like I've seen it so many times. I'm almost like sicking myself of it. Ezra E says, "What do you think of the first Lego movie?" I thought it was good, actually. It was pretty funny. Chris Pratt was good in it. Will Ferrell was good in it. Very self-aware and very anarchic. Yeah, just good fun. Dr. Acula says, "I saw a truly beautiful comment asking you if predators have musicals on their planet. What is your response?" I hope they do. I want to have a movie where it's like, what do the predators do in their downtime? Like getting like into like little interpersonal dramas, doing their laundry, having to catch up on all their household stuff. Just predators being predators. Just living their lives. I want to see a bit of that, and I love the idea of musicals on on their home planet. I'd love to hear a predator singing. Actually, Desert Fox says, "What's with Lucasfilm and trains in Star Wars movies? Spaceships are a thing they can lift off from sight." Yeah, but it's all tied into, I guess, The Mandalorian being like a space western. And so what's synonymous with westerns? Either stagecoaches or steam trains, This is just the sci-fi equivalent. That's all it is. Echo 4 Bravo says, "Four Rooms, Quentin Tarantino. Last seen The Bet with the Lighter, based on Alfred Hitchcock's Man from the South with Steve McQueen." Nice one. Chris Potter says, "Just want to say thanks for what you do. Went to my hometown for the first time in 5 years. Discussing recent Marvel, I referenced The Message, and the whole table knew the Critical Drinker reference." That's brilliant. I don't even feel like it was me who invented that. Like, I just started doing the booming voice and like the social justice stuff in the background. But man, it's funny how it's taken off. Wendy Stater says, "Hello from Vegas." Man, check you out living in Las Vegas, living the high life. Important question, Lagavulin or Lafroig whiskey? Thanks for entertainment. If they can't make good movies, at least we can be entertained by your critiques. Well, thank you very much. And with the whiskey, I'd probably take Lagavulin over Lafroig. Lafroig is too... I don't want to say TCP is what it smells like, which is a kind of like bleach stuff that you get in hospitals here in the UK, but it's got that kind of chemically smell, which is part of the process for making it. Not to my liking. I much prefer Lagavulin. At Last Music says, "I know you've only watched Arcane, but Vinland Saga is a Viking story and an animated show about a boy who is forced to progress into a man by battle. I feel that you should review it. It's amazing." All right, good recommendation. Thank you very much. Imagination Studios says, "Drinker, I wanted to ask, have you played Alien Isolation?" Why so many questions about Alien Isolation? It's weird. What do you think about a movie Emily Blunt? I think would be a good Amanda Ripley. Thoughts? Yeah, I'd love to see Emily Blunt do more action movies. Ever since I saw her in Edge of Tomorrow, man, I've just have been smitten by her. I'd definitely like to see her do that. She's obviously a little older now, but I think she could still pull it off. As I said, with Alien Isolation, haven't played it myself. I've kind of watched other people do Let's Plays and stuff, and it looks great. John S. says, "Cheers, Drinker. I watched Prey. Predator looked like a teenager out on its first hunt." It might have been, yeah, that could explain why it was so dumb. A parallel to Naru, both out to prove themselves to their tribes. That would be a nice little, concurrent narrative there, and it would give you a theme for the movie. It's just with the predators, you kind of have to guess a lot of the stuff because there's not really a way you can be explicitly told. Obviously, you don't know their language, and you can only infer things based on how they act. But it would make sense. Declan Lyons said, and this is the last super chat actually, I brought up the aliens versus Predator without humans in the last stream. I don't think dialogue would be a problem. Wilderness epics like Jeremiah Johnson had very little dialogue and they were almost 3 hours long. Yeah, I mean, I think when Muller and I discussed this, we were almost discussing it from the point of view of just modern audiences and what they need. And like, yeah, people have been conditioned to just expect constant talking, constant quippy humor, just the same shit that you get in every film nowadays. And I think they would just be lost if you had a film that was largely without dialogue to tell them exactly what they should be thinking at every moment, you know? But yeah, I'd be up for something like that. Something totally different and kind of inventive. Sure, go for it. But yeah, that, guys, is the end of the super chats. So that rounds it out to about an hour, which is pretty fucking slick. Yeah, it was an awesome stream the other night, like just doing a Q&A. You know, I don't do it all that often, but it seems like people enjoy it, and it's just a chance to talk about whatever people want to talk about, rather than you just having to listen to me dictate the conversation, I guess. So yeah, I mean, if you guys are up for it, I'll do them a bit more regularly. These Ask the Drinker streams, yeah, like I say, they're pretty fun. I try my best to get through all the super chats on the night, but man, as you saw there, there's too many, and obviously they keep coming in as I'm answering them, so it's like I can barely even keep pace, which is why I have to do these catch-up streams. But hey, you know what, man? Having like loads of super chats to answer, that's a good fucking problem for any YouTuber to have. So I'm very grateful to you guys for doing it, for sending me all this stuff, and for being so generous. The next time you see me will probably be on Thursday for Open Bar. We're going to be talking, I guess, about She-Hulk because it's out at the moment, and we're going to cover a bit of House of the Dragon because that's out now, apparently. Nobody fucking knows about it. It's weird. But yeah, I'll watch the first episode of that so we can talk about it. And yeah, we've got a really interesting panel lined up for this. The people who are qualified to talk about She-Hulk. Anyway, that is pretty much all I've got for today. Thank you, guys. So you can just go away now.